Hello, hello. What's going on? I hope you're doing amazing. Brian here. And today I want to dive into our vital few, right? I've talked about this before. Our vital few, our 80-20, right? The 20% that really is going to result in the 80% of results. And I want to focus on one piece in particular and talk about the one thing that every seller must be doing every single day. And it shocks me actually how many sellers are not doing this. So this is going to be a little bit of theory, maybe a little bit of kind of high level. You know how I like to break things down, right? Principle, strategy, and tactics. So I'm going to give you a little bit of everything. The principle, like the why, the underlying why. If we go straight to the tactics, this stuff always falls flat every single time. We see someone else doing it and we try to replicate it the way they did it and it falls flat. We go, wait, that should work. We did it the way they did it. The problem is we don't have the underlying principle, which dictates the strategy and then tells us which tactics to use. So this is something every seller must be doing. I'm actually, like I said, I'm surprised. At this point, I'm actually not surprised anymore. But for a long time, I was surprised how few sellers were doing this. And I want to make sure you're in the minority that you should be in, which is actually implementing this, which is building up your pipeline. It is critical. So if we look at the four pillars, we call them the four power levers in our eCom intensive, which is our flagship program to help brands go fast, right? You're making sales, you want to scale. What do? I can promise you it's not any shiny new tactic. It's not a new plugin. It is fundamentals, foundational stuff at scale. So if we look at the four things that matter, it is your audience or your leads, right? Leads are people who are in the pipeline, ready and getting to the point where they want to buy, right? They're getting nurtured. So your leads, that's number one. Then it's your conversion rate, or how many of those leads you're converting into customers. Your average order value, how much are those people spending when they convert, and your frequency of purchase. How often do they come back? All four of these things are critical. And if you just rinse and repeat these, they're multiplicative on each other. So literally by focusing on those, just an incremental gain on any one of those four will produce a multiplicative gain across them, okay? And I won't talk about the law of geometric growth today, but just trust me. A small incremental gain in your leads, so your audience, your conversion rate, your average order value, and your frequency of purchase will have a multiplicative, a shockingly high multiplicative result in your revenue and the results you get in your business. But I want to focus on the front of this system, of this machine, which is the leads, your audience. You need to be continually filling up your pipeline. Right now, what's happening? So it's kind of an uncertain time, right? We see a lot of advertisers pulling back and they're shelling up, right? No one's wanting to expand because we don't know what's going to happen. I can promise you, first of all, the fact that you're in e-commerce, you are positioned in the right time, that you have the ability to make transactions happen online. When no one can go to a store or very few people are going to stores, you have the ability to make business and transactions and have exchanges of value online. You are positioned for success, certainly relative to everyone else, but I have a lot of reason to believe that all we did was accelerate the trend that was already happening. Retail was going down, e-commerce was going up. You just happen to be on the winning side right now in terms of the trend of business. And a Shopify CEO, I saw an interview. It's like, I'm super into watching CEO interviews lately. There's two things I'm really into right now. CEO interviews. A buddy of mine was doing it. He told me about it. Now I'm totally into it. And watching like old inspirational stuff, like from like Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn. I'm super into watching it. So kind of an aside, but check it out. It's like a really good use of your time, instead of watching, I don't know, like the news and all kinds of other stuff that just is a downer. But he was talking about that basically today we're marketing to the person that in 2030 would have bought. This is the Shopify CEO was saying, Toby Lutke was saying that the buyer who would have bought in 2030 is buying today. Like, we've compressed time. And it's funny because I was telling people, I think we compressed 4 years into 4 weeks when all this started. And I talk about it with our intensive members and like how to capitalize on that. But he's saying it's 10 years in like 10 weeks. And I, whichever ratio you want or whichever, measure you want, the bottom line is it is bringing people online. So it's a great time to capitalize on the attention, right? Because your job is to grab that attention and turn it into a lead and then nurture that lead. And double down on like this time right now in history where you have the opportunity to make transactions online because people are still buying. I promise you, I see dashboards. I see dozens of different accounts. There are transactions happening. And the fact that you're in e-commerce, you're in the right point in time, but it has to be done systematically. And that's why you need these 4 levers. And that's why I want to focus on that first one, which are your leads. Okay. Your audience. One of the coolest, one of the first ways, or like the coolest ways I learned about this, like the power of this. I was 19. I was thinking about this. Like I've been involved in sales like most of my life, not even ever thinking of myself as like a salesperson. But I've been involved in sales. Like I started my first business when I was 19, like a legitimate business. Before then I was actually selling cars. I was selling Fords, and I got this really cool lesson in the power of building up a pipeline. So there was this guy who worked at our dealership and he knew nothing about cars. So it was like 2 really big lessons, but one of them was building a pipeline. He knew nothing about cars. Like literally watching him sell, he'd be like, yeah, and that's the engine and that's the radio. And you could see it. You could put a CD in here. Like this is back then. Right. This is the trunk. Like he literally would do that. That was his like part of his pitch. And there's a huge lesson to learn there. Because had I just told you that, you probably wouldn't know if he was any good. The guy was the top salesman. Okay. The top salesman selling Fords back then, making 150, 180 grand a year. When everyone else was making like 60 tops. Right. So there's two things I learned. One of them is how he didn't focus on the details, like on all the features. He was trying to frame it in terms of the benefit for that mom who was looking for a car or a van to run her kids around in, or the SUV. He was framing it in terms of the guy who wanted the convertible and the benefit that was going to be for him. So he didn't waste time, showing how much of an expert he was and like getting into all the details. He just wanted to know, what do they want? And how can I project those feelings and those desires onto this car? So he never wasted time with a bunch of features. He just focused on the benefits for them, and he knew them very well. That's why one of the first things we do in the intensive, and even in our e-commerce challenge, which is totally free right now, by the way. So it's an incredible value when it's a paid challenge. You get in totally for free. We have a new one starting Monday. If you want to check it out, it's ecommercechallenge.com, and you can sign up for that. But it's one of the first things we talk about is your buyer persona. Like, who are you actually selling to, and what differentiates you? And how are you going to position yourself? So that's kind of an aside. Not what I want to talk about today, but keep that in mind. That's one of 2 lessons I learned from him. The first lesson, which is what I want to talk about today, is building up your pipeline. So one of the things he was amazing at is staying in touch and getting new people in his pipeline. What do I mean by pipeline? He didn't take today's results or today's sales as was he doing good or not? Today's sales were just a result of work he put in 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Those were people who are now coming in the door, and he was able to convert them into customers. So the reason he was so successful is he wasn't saying like, what can I do today to make sales today? Like, what can I hunt? Right? He wasn't trying to hunt every day. All of us were trying to hunt. People would show up on the lot. We're like, hey, how's it going? What kind of car are you looking for? Can we help you? We were hunting. He was farming. He was having people coming in, looking for him, asking for him. He never walked around the lot. Like he would a little bit if he didn't have any leads, but he had people coming in all the time. Hey, is John here? Is John here? Is John here? So it sucked because these people would pull up. We're like, all right, we're going to get them. We're going to make a sale. And they'd be like, oh, hey, how's it going? Where can I find John? Because he had been nurturing that lead for a month, for 2 months, for 3 months, it might've been. So he was farming while the rest of us were hunting. So that was a huge lesson I learned. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today is how do you start taking more of that hunting or that farming approach, building up your pipeline so that because some people will convert today, but we know it's only 2% of the market at most. That's why the average store has, 1 to 2% conversion rate, maybe. Okay. It's usually more like 0.5. And then we get you fixed up, we get you to 2%. And then from there, we can take it to 4 and 5 because we're not building up a pipeline. Um, but the whole point is only about 2% of people are ready to buy now. So what do we do about the 48% that will buy in the next 1 to 90 days? We have to have a plan for that. And that's where you can rise above the pool of sameness. Okay. I always talk about the pool of sameness. It's everyone who has a credit card, was able to open up a store, put some stuff on a marketplace, and now they're a brand, right? Well, you got to elevate above that. And that's what I'm always sharing with you here is ways to elevate above that pool of sameness. One of the ways to do it, start building a pipeline. Sure, they don't convert today. That's okay. But you're going to be there for day 1, day 3, day 7, day 10, day 12, day 15. You're going to be there top of mind, providing value, showing that you are the best choice, farming, nurturing that lead. So when they're ready to convert, they're going to convert with you. So we have to build our pipeline. And I'm shocked how many sellers have no process, no system, nothing systematic. Like, sure, they might throw up an ad every once in a while for a lead magnet, but they don't have a systematic process that builds into their bigger business system, right? Their marketing machine that is continually fueling new leads into the pipeline. You must have this in place. This is why this is one of the first things we do in the intensive, because it's great. We'll show you how to run ads. We'll show you how to run really good ads. The stuff that we spend, like hundreds of thousands a month that we test. We're going to show you how to do that. Great. But if we don't have a process to build up leads, to nurture those leads, to maximize the order value, to have a system, it's just another tactic. It's not part of a bigger vision here and like a bigger system that'll scale. So let's talk about like how can you get these leads, right? Well, for most of you, it's going to be a lead magnet. And if you don't know what the idea of a lead magnet is, it's kind of in the word. Like, I actually explained this to a buddy of mine. I was like, because he's a marketer too. I was like, yeah, a lead magnet. So it's kind of cool, right? Because it's in the word, it's a magnet that pulls in leads. He's like, dude, I've been a marketer for like 20 years and I never thought about that. It's like, I never really sat down and kind of thought about that. That's so cool. So just think of it like this magnet, and the way you magnetize it even more, so it like sucks in those leads, it pulls them in, is the force of that magnet has to be stronger, right? And what's the force of the magnet? It's that it matches the desire, right? It matches something that your prospect wants. The easiest way to find a lead magnet that's going to work is doing something we call mapping the transformation. I've talked about this before. What is that process that your buyer has to go through to get from their current situation to the desired outcome they want in their life? And I promise you, your keto supplement is just one rung in the ladder. It is not the whole solution. But when you know what are all the things that they need to get to that desired outcome, you can start having ideas of really great lead magnets that aren't just another sort of rinse and repeat version of someone else's thing. So when we really understand what the prospect wants, what they desire, or what they fear, right? Because they're either running away from fear or they're running towards pleasure. And your product is just one rung in the ladder to get them up to that place they want to go. Once we understand that, then we can start testing lead magnets that are way more likely to succeed. And by succeed, we mean it's actually going to get us a lead, contact information that we can follow up with and we can nurture. So this process is really simple, right? We get the traffic. We have a way, usually a page, like an opt-in page, right? We're going to convert that lead, grab that contact info, then a thank you page with some next steps. So a few things, to keep in mind with your leads and lead magnets. And this isn't the only way, by the way, to get leads. We have one thing that's, I'll save it for another episode, but we have something that's working extremely well in our intensive that's kind of checks all the boxes. It's like the best of everything. It's high intent, high quality, right? Because you can do a giveaway and you got tons of leads, tons of contact information, but that's definitely a quality or quantity over quality play, right? Quantity will be high, but it's in exchange for quality. Usually a giveaway lead isn't that great of quality, but it's a good starting point. And I would say if you have 0 leads, and that's probably a great place to start. And because at least you'll have some leads there. Now there's trade-offs. You can have very high quality leads. Usually lead magnets can be pretty high quality, but the quantity is low, so they tend to be a little more expensive. We've tested a whole bunch of different things in our intensive and with our clients and students, and we've kind of found the best of both worlds, where we have high quality, high quantity, and they convert like crazy. So I'll leave that open for now, and we'll address it later. But I don't want to give you any one way to do it. I think a great place to start is a lead magnet, because it's something that can run in the background. Kind of evergreen, right? A small budget. I don't want you putting huge budget towards this, unless it turns out that it is converting and you're actually profitably grabbing those leads. Well, that's something else. And we could talk about, a different time, we could talk about kind of building funnels around your leads, around your lead opt-ins. But the whole point is we just need a way to deliver something of value, right? Because it is an exchange of value for their contact info. And I think that's the key, having lead magnets that work, and you can have these evergreen campaigns, is you have to see it as an exchange of value. Okay. Your prospect is giving you something of value, their contact information, whether it's their email, their phone, their name, in exchange for something that they value more, which is this content you're going to give them. So even though it's free, don't think that it's a laydown. Like you can just be like, oh, here's some free stuff. It is an exchange of value, and you have to see it that way. That's like the first step in having, a lead magnet that actually converts and gets people to want it. So this is where all that research of understanding your buyer persona and who you're selling to helps you actually hook them in and actually want the thing that you can deliver. So a few ideas just to get you started, things that are proven that we've used that work really well. And you probably recognize these, right? In terms of what you see online, you're going to see a lot of things with the 5 most, top 7, top 3, the 3 biggest mistakes, the top 5 things you should know. Anything where it's a list, it's easy to consume and people want to know, am I doing all of them? So, anything where it's 5 things every tournament golfer should know. Like if let's say you have a golf product and it's for competitive golfers, like 5 things every competitive, junior golfer should know. You want to know, naturally, there's a lot of curiosity. Do I know all 5 things? So that tends to be really good. Infographics, if you don't know what it is, Google it. You can see what an infographic looks like. It's a way to convey information visually so people don't have to read a whole bunch of stuff. Ultimate product guides can work really well, especially during the holidays, or if you have a niche. So if you're in the fishing niche, you can do an ultimate product guide. That's something that can do well, especially around gift giving times. I'm a big fan of video training because it really starts to position you as an authority and an expert. It takes a little bit of time to put together, but they're awesome because it adds so much more authority to what you're delivering and to you as like the head of the brand or somebody who can be a trusted advisor to them to give them guidance on like the next products they need. Recipe guides have always crushed if you can make that work. Ebooks, they're kind of a pain to put together, but if you already have one, they can work. And then one of my favorites, which no one ever talks about, and we've done this before really successfully, are user-generated content guides. So like, let's say, let's use the golf example. You have a list of golfers, and most of them are high handicap, so they're not really that great, but they love the game. So you might interview 10 or 20 people who are scratch golfers, who are really good golfers. And you might ask them a few questions on what are the best ways to go from a high handicap to a low handicap. So you're not creating the content, you're generating it from other experts. And then you put it together and then you use that as a lead magnet of, we asked 30 scratch golfers, what's the number one thing every high handicapper should do to lower their scores as fast as possible, right? Here's the guide. Here's the answer. So that can be something that you can put together that's really attractive. Again, it's high value, and in exchange for relative to just giving you my contact info, it actually is, for me, I come out on top. For you, you come out on top. And that's the beauty of commerce. Even though there's no money changing hands, it is an exchange of value. And I think that's the main thing. So hopefully that makes sense and that's helpful to you. The number one thing is I just want to give you something to work with. Listen, there's so many ways to collect contact information and to start that nurturing process. Because remember, such a small percentage of people are going to convert the minute they see your ad, the minute they get your email, that first promotion that you send them. It's 2%, maybe less. Okay. So we have to have a way to nurture and to build a bond with that other 48% that is going to convert sometime in the next 90 days. Now, what about the other 50, right? Because we got 2 plus 48, that's 50. What about the other 50? Who knows when they're going to make a buying decision? You leave them on your list. You continue to send them content. This is all the stuff we cover in the e-commerce challenge. You continue to do that, right? But when they convert, we'll see what happens, right? Whenever they happen to convert, that's great. What we want to focus in is that period where the pool of sameness is like ignoring those people who are going to buy tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe a month from now, maybe 2 months from now. That's our biggest opportunity for increasing our conversion rates and increasing customers, because no one's really competing for them. Everyone's looking for the hunt, like that right away, that win. And you're going to farm. You're going to actually kind of plant those seeds, water them, take care of them, nurture them, and then reap the harvest. So hopefully that helps. Lead magnet's a great place to start. Lots of ways to do it. All I care is you get this implemented. I promise you. It sounds fundamental. It sounds like really this is so simple. It really is. But we have to do it every day. We have to double down on the foundational stuff because they're fundamental for a reason. And you'd be shocked at how many massive companies are built and are continually being built, especially right now, will be built by simply repeating the fundamentals and using that law of compounding. Remember that mental model of compounding. It's not any one interest payments that makes us rich, right? It's the interest on the interest on the interest on the interest. And that leads to exponential growth. It's the same thing. It's not any one principle that leads to getting a massive business. Not any one thing we do. It's just repeating the fundamentals every day. Leads, conversion rate, average order value, frequency of purchase. Leads, conversion rate, average order value, frequency of purchase. Boom, 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 every day. And then that flywheel starts to spin, that virtuous cycle starts, and the business starts to take off. So go get it done. Start building your pipeline however you decide to do it. And I'll see you in the next episode. All right, bye.